Hey, you? Yeah. Hey, you. Dylan. And welcome back to the Thought Leader Podcast. It's going to be episode 16. Y'all know about the podcast already. This is where we talk to past and current thought leaders in the realms of health, wealth, and relationships in hopes of reaching past, current, and most importantly, you know it. Say it out loud. Aspiring thought leaders, people that have a message in their heart. You have a mastery in your mind. You know you have something to share to the world, but you might just be on that cusp of getting it out there. We want to talk to our guests. We want to understand their stories. We want to understand the good and the bad. So you can realize that sometimes being a thought leader is uncomfortable, and that's totally okay. Today, we're talking in the realm of wealth with Joel Salomon. Joel Salomon is in Thought Leaders TEDx program, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And he's also in Thought Leaders Business Accelerator program. He has made over $200,000 in a little less than a year and a half, I believe. It's been really cool working with him. He also has a TEDx talk that has over 50,000 views. We talk about that in today's podcast. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a finance and mindful money expert and a master prosperity coach who helps others overcome obstacles standing in the way of their financial freedom. He's an award-winning TEDx speaker, workshop facilitator, frequent television and podcast guest who has been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, Newsday, U.S. News and World Report, and interviewed in Forbes and on Bloomberg Radio as a manager of a $700 million portfolio. Think of those zeros real quick. He's the creator of his own successful hedge fund and the author of 3 best-selling books. He's an expert in the field of finance and money mindset. And as he teaches in his books and seminars, the true foundation of wealth and financial freedom is a mindset of abundance, self-worth, gratitude, love, and service. I actually want this to be for the people that hear that and they're like, really? You change your mindset and you make money? It was a very interesting interview that we had. I love how he talks about another one saying thinking outside the box and inspiring people to get outside the box. We talk about his big life lesson, which is doubting your doubt, which was huge. How to get aligned with your soul and its purpose, how to take consistent steps and to have consistent routines to elevate your frequency, how to track the actions of your day, just so you can see how our brain is currently wired to think of money. He breaks something like money mindset sounds woo-woo and spiritual. He breaks it down very logical and analytical, and I love that. So it's going to be fun. We have a shit ton of fun. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to this stuff. This is how we spread the word. Comment below what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Make fun of me. Make fun of my beard. Make fun of my hair. Do whatever you want. Everybody that I work with does as well. I can take it. Speaking of everybody that I work with, today's podcast is brought to you by Thought Leader. Over 8 years, Thought Leader has made it a mission to help its coaching and consulting clients get their authentic message out to the world in hopes of reaching their own desired audience through the power of speaking and business building. With over 650 clients landing a TEDx talk, Joel being one of them, hundreds more speaking on virtual and physical stages around the world, Joel being one of them, Thought Leader has perfected the art of delivering a top-tier message. We talk about strategy and mindset that's needed for that in today's podcast. Thought Leader also offers programs to build and scale your own high-ticket program and authentically market it. Sell it to your target audience so you can build a sustainably scaled business. Joel also did that, made very good money as he went through it. Of course, he invested it in himself, but it came back 100-fold, 10-fold, whatever, 15-fold, 25-fold. So if you have a message in your heart, if you have a mastery in your mind, you're looking to get it out there, and what are the first steps? We're going to put links in this description below. You can watch a you can watch a webinar from Taylor Conroy that talks to you about TEDx, talks to you about scaling a business. You can speak with someone on our team if you want, or just keep following these and just slowly get outside that comfort zone. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And over to me. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thought Leader Podcast, episode 16. This is actually our first morning podcast, so I have better lighting today. We're going to be talking in the realm of wealth with Mr. Money Mindset, Mr. Mindful Money expert himself, Joel Salomon. Joel, welcome to the Thought Leader Podcast.
Dylan, thanks so much for having me. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here with you today. Thanks so much.
Not a problem. It's full circle. Anytime I talk to someone in our business accelerator program, it's fun. Like seeing us in the beginning of our journey. It's been like a year and a half, 2 years now. You've done very well in your business. We're going to talk about that on today's podcast. We're going to talk about money mindset, how you got into finance, where it is now, who you work with. You have a TEDx talk, you have a book. We're going to talk about that. I'm excited to have some fun here today, but I ask everybody this. I've had people on the podcast recently. They're like, "You're going to ask that thought leader question first, aren't you?" And I say, "Yes." This is called the Thought Leader Podcast, man. That is a vague, subjective word for a lot of people. For you, what does being a thought leader mean to you?
Well, first of all, it means thinking outside the box, looking
Mm,
at things from a different perspective. And also, to me, it means helping others create the life of their dreams by inspiring them to know that they can create that life
mm.
through shifting their point of view, their thoughts, and their beliefs.
I love it, man. It's a recurring theme lately is thinking outside the box, which I love. But you went a step further to basically say, hey, we want to inspire people to create a life of their dreams. Basically, be like that person outside the box and be like, hey, there's an outside world out here, man. Check it. Like the water's fine. Um, what does that give you to be able to be that person, right? If I would ask you selfishly, like, what do you get to feel, or what does that give you to be that person outside of the box, being like, hey, come on in?
Well, rule number 6 in the 9 money rules millionaires use, my second book is giving.
Mm,
And I talk about the fact when you can give to others, whether it's money or time or your gifts, that energy flows back to you. And so selfishly, I give a lot because I know that money is energy and everything is energy. And then it's just a great feeling to know that you're changing people's lives, and then it will also flow back to you.
Thank you for being super honest there. Our number one core value at Thought Leader is radical transparency. So I appreciate the radical transparency there of like, hey, I do it selfishly. I love giving. It feels great. Um, I believe there's a virtuous circle. I always like to say, time powers stories and stories power time,
Mm.
right? I love, that I work on my comics. I love allegory. I love stories. I love origin stories and how like superheroes come to be, right? We're going to be talking in the world of finance today.
Yep.
You're a coach now. You had a hedge fund for a while. Like you've done a lot in the world. You help people with stocks. Like you've done a lot in the world of finance. Could you take us back to your origin? Like how did you get into the world of finance?
Well, I started my career as an actuary, and you may know the difference, Dylan, between an actuary and an accountant.
Yeah,
An actu- actu-
let's say I didn't.
okay, well, an actuary looks at his feet when he talks to you. An accountant looks at your feet when they talk to you. But in reality, an actuary works at an insurance company. They do coding,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what I was doing. But my dream was to manage money,
Mm,
and I was doing it. I was analyzing and investing in stocks in the evenings and weekends, and I really would wanted to align my hobby and my career.
mm,
And so I reached out to many money managers on Wall Street, actuaries who became money managers, and they gave me massive doubt, a
mm,
ton of rejection. They
mm,
said, Joel, don't do this. You're an actuary. You don't have the experience. You don't have the background. You don't have the MBA in finance. Just forget it.
mm.
But there
How?
was one guy who gave me his path.
Mm.
And 15 years later, I was doing my dream, my first dream. And so, go ahead. What were you going
That
to
I was
ask?
gonna say because that's really important here. I love talking about the uncomfortable parts. You got in as an actuary, looking at your own feet. You're in this insurance world. You know, though, your dream is to be a money manager. So you go, hey, I'm going to learn from the people that have done it. You put yourself out there and you got a shit ton of rejection, which is good to know. Like you're where you're at right now and you went through a lot of rejection. 15 years and then the dream came. How did you stay how did you keep the resolve through that time?
I have to admit that I didn't.
Okay.
Every single minute, every single day, every single year. It was a very circuitous path, and there were times when I had a lot of doubt. And now, as a professional master prosperity coach, I teach people to hashtag doubt the doubt,
Hmm.
have faith in the dream. Why do you have faith in the doubt? Doubt your doubt.
Hmm.
And so I worked on doing that throughout those 15 years and eventually got to the dream. And at Citi, I was managing at the peak 700 million. And I started actually working at Citi in 2008. And you may remember 2008 was not the best year in the stock market. The market was down 40%. That was my trial by fire.
Hmm.
And it was my dream and my passion. And I truly believe if you're doing your purpose and enjoying what you're doing, you will achieve and you will also be prosperous. And in 2008, when the stock market was down 40%, financial companies, the only ones that I was invested in, were down 57%. I was up over 3%. I
You.
made the shareholders over 3%. And so, and of course, the next year was a lot better, and the next year even better.
Wow. So if you can flourish in the deep end, amazing. But what I'm hearing there is it not only took you 15 years to get into the industry and to keep your mindset right. I love how you say doubt the doubts, right? Because it's not always great when we're going through the uncomfortable journey, right? Then you get the role and it's just like utter hell and you still push through. So I am kind of curious, like what I'm not a big finance guy. People that listen to me talk know that. Like, what was it that fueled your passion for being a money manager? Like, did you have the same passion for it or the same mindset when you were starting as an actuary and it's always been there, or did it kind of evolve over time? Like, I'm very curious of like what pushes you at the heart through this.
Well, I really, again, like I said before, I really enjoy investing. It's
Mm,
fun, the game, the intellectual game.
mm,
And that pushed me, but also purpose. And I can tell the story about why I'm a prosperity coach now.
yeah.
And I truly believe if you're aligned with your soul and your purpose, you're going to be more prosperous. And so that's what drove me to, during those 15 years when it wasn't clear that what I was doing was going to help me get to be a professional money manager. There were times when I worked at different companies. I was getting yelled at for doing a poor job in their perception
Mm,
and had to deal with those angry, not so spiritual people,
yeah.
and knew that this is, I want to get there and I need to go through these trying times in order to overcome the adversity and get to where I wanted to go.
In your opinion, right? Because I feel like when you're going through this, it can be easy to forget our purpose or forget what our soul wants. So, kind of a two-parter here. Someone out there listening to this, I'd love to hear I'd love to hear other perspectives. How do you get aligned with your soul and your purpose? And then second one, which I think is even more important, how do you remind yourself of it when shit hits the fan?
Yes. So I have a routine that I work on to keep in alignment. And it's what I teach my clients now.
Mm,
And it includes meditation, visualization, affirmations, audio files. It includes journaling. And basically, all that is doing is raising my vibration to a point where I'm more in alignment with my soul's purpose.
Mm.
And then the second part, you asked about reminding myself when things are not going so well. It's not so easy. I remember talking with a buddy of mine when I was working, when I had my own hedge fund.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably 2014, because 2013 was a great year. The first year was really great. 2014, the first January 2014, things weren't going great. And I remember we were going out for drinks, and he's like, "How it's going?" And I said, "Not so great. This month has been really tough." And he said, "So what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh man, I'm barely having time to sleep. It's just I'm spending more time analyzing companies and spending more time meeting and doing all the work stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what about your practices? What about your affirmations? What about everything that we did when we were in the part of the mastermind group together? I said, "Oh, it's fallen by the wayside."
Mm.
And he said, "Joel, isn't this the time to double down? Do more of that, wake up earlier, spend more time meditating and visualizing."
Mm.
And that really hit me. And that's what I do when things are not going so great. I double down. So I'll, in Business Accelerator, you teach like reaching out to people. When things aren't going great in my business, I'll just double down. I'll reach out to more people.
Yeah. I love, because again, routines. It's like someone can start to hear the word routine on this, and it's instantly like, I don't know what it is with what was happened as a society, but it's like we start to see routines as boring or like monotonous or rote. But the way that you talk about it is like, yeah, this is where I'm going to build upon my frequency to get my frequency right, right? To like battle test me for the days and the weeks to come. And it's not always going to be perfect, but then doubling down on this meditation, these affirmations. Because when you call it a routine, like when you're humming, how often do you do this routine?
Every day.
Fucking love to hear. I
Three
ask because
3 hours every day.
you know, I think a lot of people just like don't realize the importance of it. And I've definitely been in those shoes of like where I've fallen off on my routines. Um, Man, I love that. And it's all led to, not only are you going through our business accelerator program, you also went through our TLA program. You landed a TEDx talk. Congratulations. It's called How to Create Money Miracles. Why did you then decide to go to stage to tell people? I mean, you're having success, you're helping manage people's money, you're increasing, right? Your returns, you said it's 3% even in a hard time, and you're continuing to increase after that. Why did you decide to go further and take it to the red dot?
Well, I shut down my hedge fund in December 20. Well, I had an epiphany in December 2015 and shut it down in 2016. And I did my TEDx talk last year, and kudos to Taylor Conroy and the team. I I always, I don't like to say always and ever, but if somebody asks me, who do you want to go to if you need to get on stage,
Mm,
it's thought leader, it's Taylor Conroy's team, because I will say that I love the process that you guys teach, which is mindset and strategy. And that's what I teach. It's
mhm,
mindset and strategy. And there's so many benefits to having the process that you have in terms of, here's the arc of the speech you need to create in order to get up on stage, and here is the application process you need to use in order to apply and actually get approved.
mhm.
So just that aside, I wanted to put that out there. But
Thank
the
you. I will send you that $20 to you later. I appreciate
so for me, I the reason I did my TEDx is because it has two important lessons
it. Mhm.
in the speech, and highly recommend people go to listen to How to Create Money Miracles. It's We've had over 52,000 views now, so looking for, the idea is to help as many people as possible move towards financial freedom.
Yeah.
So it's free. Just watch it. It's 11 minutes. And
We'll drop the link in the description for sure.
great. So the idea is, I truly believe, or as I've already said, that everyone came here to thrive, not just survive.
Hmm.
And everyone has the ability to be prosperous. And so this presentation, this TEDx talk, gives you two specific techniques to use every day to move towards financial freedom. And it's not rocket science. But again, Dylan, you talked about routine.
Hmm.
If this has to be a priority for you. You have to know that it's good to be rich.
Hmm.
And a lot of people I talk to, my core client is a spiritual entrepreneur. And a lot of them have this limiting belief that they were taught growing up that if you're a good soul, you're spiritual, it's not in alignment with being rich.
Hmm.
And I will say just the opposite. Because if you have $10 million, where would you give $1 million to? Who would you give $1 million to? And think about that. You can develop your own charity. Again, back to rule number 6 in the 9 money rules, giving. It's really important. So it's good to be rich and know that in your soul
Hmm.
that you can change other people's lives. If you can't eat, you can't serve.
What do you think, like, what so would you say then the first thing someone coming into work with you, because I want to talk about your business here in just a second. First thing someone coming into work with you is break you talk about strategy and mindset just like us. Is it then the first thing you want to focus on is breaking this mindset that someone has of like, it's not right to be rich? Is that like step number 1?
Well, everyone is at a different point on their journey, and not everyone believes that. So the first thing we do is I have them fill out a financial freedom survey
Mhm.
and a money personality type survey, which actually I created in my last book, Infinite Love and Money, that I wrote with Molly Singh. And we have money personality types. And so you fill out the survey. It's very quick, 5 to 10 minutes. And the same thing with the financial freedom survey. So we figure out where you are,
Hmm.
right? Because it's really important. Some people could be vibrating way down here in their frequency of
Mhm.
abundance and prosperity, and other people could be here, and other could be way up here. And so if they're here, we don't have to spend weeks on mindset,
Right.
and we can move right into the strategies of either their business or teaching them. I have two different programs. One to teach them how to get their business to the next level, and the second is to teach them investing, either in stocks or real estate.
Mhm.
And so, but the mindset is the foundation. Because I say if you don't have the proper mindset, you could be buying when you should be selling and selling when you should be buying.
And with that mindset being the best exercise, no matter where someone is, like they're starting here, is there any, if you don't mind me asking, is there any like exercise or processes you'll use with your clients that they could like kind of that easy win that helps them find success?
Here's one really simple thing you can do. Track your actions for a full day. And what I mean by that is I had a client who came to me a couple of years ago and we did this. And so he told me that in the morning when he brushes his teeth, he takes a piece of wood, and when he gets a new tube of toothpaste, he rolls the wood around the toothpaste forward so he doesn't miss a drop of the toothpaste. That is massive lack and scarcity thinking, that action.
Hmm.
He's worried about missing one small little drop of toothpaste. So, what action steps are you taking throughout your day? Really be conscious of the action steps you're taking, because that's a tell on your thoughts and your beliefs. And it's an easier way to, like, I can't get into your head. I don't, and you may not even be recognizing
Yeah.
what you have 50 to 70,000, 75,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
It may not be easy to figure out all those thoughts,
Right.
but it's easy to see the actions. If you go to the gas station and are you filling up your tank, or you're putting $5 in because gas doubled the last like in 2022, gas doubled here in the United States.
Mhm.
And some people I was talking to on prospective client calls were telling me they would put $5 or $10 into their tank and then put it in either in the evening or the next morning.
So really what you're saying is when you can analyze, because I like how it's logical here, because I think I want to get to the question of like the layman that's like, oh, you're just telling me I can manifest money. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you get some people asking that question, but the logic you're breaking down here is simply track your actions and start to see like what are the little things that you do. For instance, this roll of toothpaste or the gas. That is a result of how your brain has been wired for
Yes,
years of what you potentially have to break.
exactly. I mean, growing up, I heard we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. That's too expensive. I got screamed at for leaving the light on in my room. Joel, we're not a shareholder of Long Island Lighting Company. Shut that light off.
Yeah.
And so I will tell you, I work at home. I've been WFHing for 8 years now since I shut down my fund. And my office is upstairs and my kitchen is downstairs.
Mhm.
Almost every day, I still catch myself reaching for the light to turn it off, even though I'm coming back into this room in 20 minutes,
Mhm.
because I've been so programmed to turn the lights off when I leave a room. And it's not, do you actually know how much money, if any, you're saving by keeping a light on or turning it off for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
It's a rounding error, and it's just this programming of lack and scarcity. But knowing why you're doing it and then changing these thoughts, changing the act, first of all, recognizing the actions and where they're coming from can change your thoughts and beliefs from limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs.
One that keeps literally it's like burnt into my mind, right? We're not heating the outside, right? Like you just have those that's crazy cool. So then with all of this, you work with spiritual entrepreneurs, right? Help them have like I can create wealth. I'm very curious of the epiphany of why you left the hedge fund. But then what led you to basically say, "No, I want to start this business to help these people."
So let me clarify what spiritual entrepreneurs mean first, and then
Mhm.
I'll tell you why I shut down my hedge fund. So for me, spiritual entrepreneurs are the Reiki masters, the yoga teachers, the meditation teachers, the life coaches, the nutritionists, the shaman, the energy healers. All these people who, for whatever reason, have these limiting beliefs around money. They're really amazing giving souls.
Mhm.
And I tell them that, again, you should be making you should be earning so much more money because there are so many people who need your help. And you're doing the world a disservice by hiding, by not serving those that need your help. So come to me. I give everybody 30 minutes free.
Mm.
In 30 minutes, things can shift. And it's not a sales call. It's an enlightenment call.
Hmm.
So, but let's talk about why I shut down my hedge fund.
Yeah.
So it was December 2015. I went to this personal development course. It was 3 days long. I wanted to get my hedge fund to the next level. And two things happened there that completely changed my life. First, there was a guest speaker speaking for 1 hour about stocks and stock options. And when he spoke about stock options in particular, he made it sound easy. He said, you don't need much time, you don't need much money. This is how the rich people get rich. And options are essentially risk free. And I was sick to my stomach. I had people tapping me on the shoulder, whispering, Joel, does this make sense? Are options really risk free? So we went out of the auditorium after he was done, and I said, please don't do this. He has no idea about any of you individually, and most importantly, no idea about your belief that you can become rich using options. Now, the
Mm.
second thing that happened at that course is we were given a wooden board, this wooden board, 2 inches thick, and we were told we are going to break it with our bare hand. Dylan, I don't know if you've done this, but there was a lot of fear in the room. The exercise was called Obstacles Are Illusions. And on one side of the board, we had our write our biggest obstacle. On the other side, our ultimate goal, which stumped me for a while. And then it hit me. Now you can't see it. Okay. Make everyone in this room financially free.
Hmm.
That's what I wrote. Make everyone in this room financially free. A few minutes later, I broke the board. I broke through. I did it like the other 200 people. And I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. First, the guy was in my head, and I realized if I could ever get up the courage to speak on a stage in front of 200 people, well, I've done that now. Because my biggest fear that day was public speaking. Well, if I could ever get up the courage, I could tell them the truth about money, not mislead them, and be of service.
Hmm.
And then the second thing going on in my head was that wooden board was staring back at me across the room at 3:34 in the morning. Make everyone in this room financially free. And at 4:30, it hit me. And I jumped out of bed. I quickly got dressed. I was at my office in Midtown Manhattan before the sun rose. And I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm giving them their money back. I'm shutting down my fund. I figured out my true purpose in life.
Oh, man, that has to feel good. You know, a lot of times the story of I was up until 4 in the morning does not end well. But for you, it's like, no, it leads this. And then was it right after that you started your current business?
Well, my lawyer wasn't too happy. My CFO was less happy. You can't shut down a hedge fund that way by sending an email. You have to go through legal processes. And so in 2016, we did. And so I opened up the shop in officially in 2017.
No. And teaching these people, the power of routines, the power of manifesting, the power of tracking your actions. I mean, do you have any clients you'd like to brag about a little bit with what you've like who you've helped and what you've helped them with?
Sure, I'd love to. So on two different ends of the spectrum, one is this guy who came to me a few years ago, and he came to me with a belief that he believed. So to be clear, by the way, before I talk about him, what I teach is you can become rich many different ways. It could be your business, it could be stocks, it could be real estate, it could be options, it could be bonds, it could be crypto. I'll teach you wherever your belief level is high.
Hmm.
I'm not going to convince you to invest in options if you don't believe that that's the way.
Hmm.
Come to me with I want to learn about stocks and I'll teach you. Come to me with, I want to learn about real estate and I'll teach you that.
Hmm.
Right. So I'm not going to come in and say, this is what you have to learn.
Yeah.
Right. So that, I think that's really important. And so I just lost your question.
No, and I'm sure people appreciate that, right? Like I'm sure because a lot of times I think a lot of the resistance people have is like, I'm the boss. I'm gonna kind of like that guy that was on stage. Let me tell you what
I,
to do.
yeah.
Straightforward, very direct. It's like Jesus. No, any success stories of
Oh,
people that
success.
have
Right. Right. So this guy came to me 2 years ago and he wanted to learn about stocks. He came to me and said, can you teach me
Mhm.
everything you know? And I said, great, perfect client. Right. And he was interested in changing his mindset. He actually came to me with a really poverty conscious mindset. He hadn't taken a vacation in 20 years. He was wearing the same boots for 3 years.
Hmm.
So actions, right? Where
Mhm.
what actions was he taking? And it was clear to me where he was in his mindset. And we worked on his mindset for a while.
Mhm.
He actually was a client for about 2 years. And I taught him my 5-step stock screen, which is in my second book, The 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use. And we went deep. And 2 years ago, he found a stock that passed the screen that had 100% upside and it doubled. And he is now financially free. If you
Hmm.
ask him, he says, I don't have to work anymore. And more importantly, his mindset has moved from a place of when you ask him about money, it was worry and fear, and now it's expectation and fun. It's
Hmm.
it's a game and it's fun and he expects to win and he does. Now the other side of the spectrum is a woman who came to me who literally had $90 left in her bank account for the last 6 days of the month.
Damn.
And she literally had to send her daughter back to her parents so that her daughter could eat.
Mm.
And I worked with her. We put in place some powerful affirmations, individualized affirmations. She was living in such scarcity that spending a dollar was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do
Mhm.
that. And so shifting the mindset to have her know that there's massive amount of abundance. There's $500 trillion of net worth on this earth. 500 trillion. I can't even conceive of that number, but that's the net worth of this earth.
Hmm.
It's almost infinite. And to
Mhm.
say that you can't generate a dollar like that. So I taught her affirmations, individualized affirmations. I taught her some manifestation techniques, and we spent a lot of time on mindset. And this last year, her daughter's now living back with her, and she was actually able to take a vacation, and she has a job. Right. So so again, it's mindset and taking action. She had to get out into the world and take action. And she was just so in this state of paralysis that when she came to me, she was like, I um I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So she wasn't taking any action. And so it's mindset, affirmations, taking action that solved her issues.
It's gotta be so fun to see where somebody starts and where they go. I wanna get into the taking action. I wanna get towards the end of this, interview and end with the uncomfortable part. But whether it's from your clients, whether it's from the people that you have, studied under or learned from, if you were to kinda sum all this up, is there like a big lesson in your life that you learned that just sticks out to you time and time again with what you do, day to day?
I think we already talked about it. It's hashtag doubt the doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so huge because look, as an entrepreneur, there's going to be times when you may have a light month or a light week, and you start doubting yourself, start doubting your purpose or your why, and really going back to it and saying, okay, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to help people become financially free. My mission is to help at least 100,000 people become financially free. Right. And so that gets me up in the morning. And when I'm talking to people, I know that I can help them. In my heart of hearts, I know that I can help them. I spoke with a guy just yesterday,
Mhm.
and he's starting his business, and he opened up to me that he in the past has had money issues, money blocks. And I'm like, look, I know I can help you. You have to know that I can help you move quickly to a completely different state.
Hmm.
And so it's just doubting your doubt, right? It's just being persistent and having faith in the dream.
We had, John Mylan on, also in Business Accelerator, which you probably know, and he talks about this as well, and he went a little bit further. He said, "We have an inner critic in our mind that'll be like, 'You can't do this. What about this? What about this?' And it's very emotional, so we should tap into our logical brain and be like, what about if I just did this, did this, did this? And it helps that inner critic. And then the excuses mindset that can come in that doubts is very logical, right? Well, we're not going to do this because this reason, and this reason. And then it takes us to tap into our emotional pocket to be able to doubt that. So I just love that along with doubt the doubt. I love finding commonalities around upon thought leaders because it's like clearly it's working, right? Clearly you've used this. Clearly you've used this to go into uncomfort and to meander it. So here are the last questions that I ask everybody because you're not perfect. I don't like when people just be like, "Oh, well, Joel can do it. He's done incredible with this." Like over $200,000 since you and I have met just in this program alone. I think that's incredible, right? Everyone sees you at a finish line. But you also told us about getting extremely uncomfortable in this process, right? I'm sure when you first started and you're messaging all your investors and you're messaging your lawyer and your CFO, it's uncomfortable. So all of that to say, why did you decide to get outside your comfort zone to pursue this passion that you have?
To help others know that I'm no different than them. We can all do this. And to show them the way, to inspire them that it's possible.
Yeah. To get into that outside the box, to basically, you want to be that person, be like, hey, there's other stuff out here. Why do you feel most people don't? Like, ego aside, right? Why do you feel most people don't get outside their comfort zone?
Because it's called the comfort zone. You want to stay comfortable, right? It takes sometimes painful. It's not easy. And a lot of people care too much about what other people think. At some point I learned in my life that I'm writing my first book, and oh my God, what are people going to say? What if somebody doesn't agree with what I say? But I'm writing this for the people who will benefit. And so everything I do is I'm doing this for those who will benefit from this reel on TikTok or this TEDx talk or this book or this, for those who will resonate and it will change, right? For the others, I don't like to say always and never, but there's almost always somebody who's not going to resonate with you.
Yeah.
That shouldn't stop you from getting out there, because there are people, and I know there are a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs watching and listening to this. And so know that you're doing the world a disservice by not getting out there.
You actually answered my last question. My last question is, what would you tell these people, right? They have something, they're on the precipice of like comfort and uncomfort. Maybe they've stuck their toe in and people like turned them down or said that's weird, and then they come back. What I'm hearing is you can't think about everybody. Like, thinking everyone's going to love you all the time is insanity. But think of the people that you can help. And also put it on your shoulders if you're willing to be like, you're doing a disservice to those people to stay in comfort. Joel, this was an incredible podcast. How people can get in touch with you, I'm going to throw that in the description. I believe you are on Instagram, you are on TikTok, you have a Facebook page. I know we briefly talked about your books. I'll link them below as well. They can see them in the back. Some of them, you talked about some of the steps or rules that are in them. I'm going to make sure we put your TEDx talk link below. But man, some of the big things that I took from today's call, again, getting outside the box and knowing that when you can do that, you're inspiring other people, that there's other things out there. I love the mindset you have, which is rule number 6. I remembered, give and energy flows back to you. Like, really, like, it's a good thing to give and to do it sometimes selfishly because it feels great and that energy's coming back. The big one from today could be up there with the title is doubt your doubt. Right? Like, when this doubt comes in, don't be afraid to fight fire with fire and doubt that back. Absolutely love it. Get aligned with your soul and its purpose, and then find routines that feed it and that can build upon it and raise your frequency. And then as you're starting to get in, don't be afraid to track your actions and think of those people that you can help. Joel, man, I always take a bunch of notes. And if anyone ever sees me looking down, it's just notes of, I want to intro you as well, but I also want to make sure I'm taking next steps from this, because that's how we grow, learning from other people. For anyone that's listening, if you're thinking of getting in to the world of finance, if you are that spiritual entrepreneur and you can be bringing in more, and maybe there's some mindset blocks, Joel's the guy. Feel free to reach out to him in the links below. Thank you so much for listening. Tell people about it. Like and subscribe. Comment. What's the biggest thing that you learned from today's call? We will see you next week. We appreciate you, our listeners, and Joel, we really appreciate you and everything that you're doing to shine your light, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.